Thanks for tuning in. Join me today as I take you through the repair, restoration, and testing of my Macintosh MX110 preamplifier tuner and my Dynaco ST-70 power amplifier, two vacuum tube audio products from the 1960s. If you enjoy vintage audio equipment, you've come to the right spot. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell, as well as giving me a big thumbs up if you like this video and share it with others. There is a risk of serious injury or death from electrical shock working on this equipment. If you're not comfortable with working on the equipment, please do not take the cover off and consult a professional. First of all, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my Macintosh MX110. It was sold from 1962 to 1969, and it retailed for $399. My MX110 is what they call a Series Z, which was a little bit later from the original M Series MX110. It has a complement of 27 vacuum tubes. It has a glass front panel. The top panel is glass. It has an input selector with an auxiliary, an MPX, which is actually the FM stereo selector, FM, and it has two phono inputs. It has bass and treble controls, and then it has rocker switches for the muting, either in or out, and that's not to mute the preamp, but to get rid of the hiss between stations. You can either have it muted or not. You have the filters, a high and low filter, again, either in or out. You have one tape monitor. You have a balance control. The power switch is part of the balance control. And you have that old mode selector that I talk about every now and then on the equipment, that if for some reason you wanted some other combination other than stereo, you've got them all here. So I usually, I always leave it in stereo, so I haven't used all these other ones very much. It has a illuminated dial. In this unit, I ended up using a LED fuse lamp in it, and a green one. And I experimented a little bit, and man, I just love the way it looks. Is it original? No, but I just love the way it looks. A lot of times the LEDs, I don't like them, frankly, in the vintage equipment. You know, I've got some equipment with them, some without, but a lot of times they're just a little bit too much for me. But in this unit, I don't think I'll ever change them out. It just looks like it was made for it, even though it's not original. It also has an electron ray tuning indicator light tube in itself, an MPX light that lights when you get a stereo FM signal, and this unit has the Macintosh pan lock buttons that, you know, lock into the case. You guys that are Macintosh people know that, and it makes it so much easier than screwing on your wood case. Like some of them, I have like a Fisher unit and I have a Scott unit, and you have to unscrew them to get the case off. Here you just push those two buttons on the side, and that whole chassis will pull right out of that wood case, and boy, it's nice if you ever want to get it out, you know, to change tubes out or do any work on it. As you guys know, I'm a hobbyist. I'm a collector of the equipment, but I also repair the equipment. Macintosh followers kind of fall, it seems like, into two different categories. They're either the ones that don't want to touch their equipment at all. They don't want anything different from the original. They just want it like it came right from Macintosh in 1965. And they don't want nothing done to it. They want to use the same old components that are in it. And as you guys know, I don't really fall into that category probably. I can certainly respect it, but I want it to sound the best. I want it to be reliable. I want it to sound like it's 1965 again, and it's very difficult for that to happen if your components are wore out, especially those old capacitors or the tubes, that kind of thing. You know, in this unit it's a vacuum tube unit, and tubes wear out. They just do. There's nothing you can do about it. You're going to have to change tubes from time to time. So I'm kind of like a person who wants to clean the unit up, make it look as good as it can, but also make it sound as good as it can, to give it that chance to sound its best. That's the McIntosh MX110. Now I'd like to talk to you about my Dynaco ST-70 power amplifier. Dynaco was a company that was founded in Philadelphia in the middle 50s. And the ST-70 first came out in 1959. That's crazy for me to think about it. Something like this amplifier was available in 1959, and it was sold throughout the 1960s, and they produced 350,000 of these amplifiers. That's just an amazing number. I mean, I don't know if there's any other piece of audio equipment that's produced that number of units. I mean, 350,000. Boy, that's a bunch back in the 50s and throughout the 60s. The ST-70 produces 35 watts per channel. The speaker outputs, there's 3 separate taps, 4 ohm, 8 ohm, and 16 ohm taps at the back of the unit, and it has standard RCA inputs at the front of the unit. I obtained this ST-70 in 2012 with a whole bunch of other pieces of equipment, some related to older tube stuff, some newer stuff. I bought several pieces of equipment. Unlike my MX110 that was in very nice shape when I got it, my ST-70 power amplifier was really in very rough shape, was not operational, and later on in the video I'll show you the restoration of the ST-70. And I don't have any figures on this, but the ST-70, it must be the most modified piece of audio equipment ever. If you look out on the internet, just about every component has been changed by somebody. Just about every board has been changed. And there's even brand new ST-70s out there. You know, remakes, updated ones, and then brand new ones that you can buy. So it has quite a history behind it. Dynaco also produced a kit version of this amplifier, and it was called a Dynakit. So sometimes you'll see Dynakits out there on the market for sale. So they sent you the kit, kind of old school, right? They sent you the chassis, sent you the parts, and gave you instructions, and you build it yourself at home. And then Dynaco ST-70, which is what this one was a factory wired unit. This video shows the repair and restoration of my McIntosh MX110 tuner preamplifier, along with my Dynaco ST-70 power amplifier. Both of these pieces of equipment were produced in the 1960s, and after 50 to 55 years, they both need restoration. They're both tube-based products, and rebuilt, they can really sound quite wonderful, even compared with today's equipment. Electrolytic capacitors, of course, are always a big thing to change, and in the MX110, several of those were changed out. Coupling capacitors were all changed. There were quite a few of those in this unit, but once again, after 50-55 years, it was time. I also installed a current limiter across the power switch, as these power switches have shown to fail after years of use. So you can see in the top left corner, this is the chassis of the MX110. I've started to clean it, and this is the same picture, again up in the top left. It kind of looks clean until you see the rest of it. And here I've cleaned the entire chassis up, so it cleaned up quite nice. A lot of tubes were replaced, no big surprise there. I replaced 4 or 5 different tubes that had either failed or were weak. The ST-70 Dynaco really needed quite a bit more work. I received it just as you see it here. No tubes, obviously the original capacitors in it. Quite dirty. It'll clean up. So once I get past finding out why the power cord was cut, that was the first thing. When you see something like that on a piece of equipment, it doesn't give you a good feeling. And after taking the bottom cover off, it was quite dirty in there. Again, no surprise after this many years. And also, I found a lot of wires held together with electrical tape. So that wasn't good. Also, the ST-70 has a reputation for the original artwork, the original boards that are in it being kind of weak, but they can be repaired. One good thing, there's not a whole lot to it. It's pretty easy to work on, and once I got it up to the point I thought I could power it up, I installed some tubes in it and got it up and going. I used a variac to power it up slowly, just so I didn't get any surprises. I thought I could power it up, but it's always best to use a variac to make sure. Now I can clean the ST-70 up a little bit. It's dirty. Most of that will end up coming off, and it did. Just looks much better now. I'm able to, at this point, go ahead and install the tubes. Got the new capacitors installed in it and ready for it to make some music. What I've done is I've installed the MX110 and the ST-70 together, and I'm going to power it up. And I've powered up my MX110, and I'm going to next power up my Dynaco ST-70. Get them hooked up. I'm going to try to make some music with them. So here we go. All right, I've gotten my McIntosh MX110 up and running, along with my Dynaco ST-70. So I'm pretty excited to listen to this combo. It's been quite a while since I have. Well, we've gotten about 15-20 minutes of warm-up. Why do I do that? I don't know. Just seems like you should with tubes, right? Just let it warm up a little bit, let everything stabilize. I think we're ready to rock and roll here. I really enjoy mixing up the equipment that I have. My Macintosh MX110, it's a vacuum tube preamp tuner, but it mixes well with solid state equipment too. And one of my favorite combinations is with the Sansui BA5000 power amplifier that I restored and I have a video of. And the BA5000 was in terrible shape when I got it, but it's a tremendous performer and it's a great mix. You get the tube sound from the MX110, but you get that easy power and also very deep, tight bass from this BA5000 that's pretty tough for a tube amplifier to emulate. So you kind of get the best of both worlds with the MX110 and the Sansui BA5000. You get that beautiful tone mid-range of the tubes in the MX110, but you get that solid, really kicking bass of the BA5000. So it's one of my favorite combinations that I have. But being a tube preamp tuner, I love hooking it to a tube power amplifier too. It sounds great with the ST-70. Does it sound different depending what you hook to it? Of course it does. Does the Dynaco ST-70 have the same kick as the Sansui BA5000, a 35-watt tube amp, compared to a 300-watt solid-state amp? No, it doesn't. But it is very enjoyable. I use a very, very efficient pair of speakers, and so 35 watts a channel, you can play it pretty darn loud. This MX110 really surprises me. The piece of equipment is not too far off of 60 years old, and it really sounds good. It really does. I'm never disappointed. I never hook it up and think, God, this sounds like something from the 60s. Tremendous piece of equipment. And my Dynaco ST-70, same thing. I can see why they sold 350,000 of them. Really a great amplifier. And you put those two together, something that's almost 60 years old, a setup, and you can actually sit back and truly enjoy the music. I just think that's amazing. So as you guys know, I'm a collector. I'm kind of a half audiophile. I'm a half music lover. I fix the stuff so I don't fall into any category, I don't think. You see in my videos, I don't very often talk about what's best, about what am I hearing. Because first of all, when a person tells me, I look in these forums, and they've been told by manufacturers they have golden ears, that's the person you just don't want to listen to. Right? Nobody knows what you hear. What I like and what you like may be totally different. You have to be true to your ears. So I hope you enjoyed my repair and restoration and testing video on my Macintosh MX110 and my Dynaco ST-70. If you did, please leave me a big thumbs up down below. If you're not a subscriber and you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. And for all my present subscribers, thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.